Hello, Manchester City fan. If you're passionate about the team and want to stay up to date with the latest news on the city, you've come to the right place. In this video, we'll be discussing some of the most talked about movements at the club, including possible departures and acquisitions that could change the course of the next season. But before we start, you know what to do, right? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any detail about what's going on in the world of Manchester City. Let's begin with one of the players who's been generating a lot of speculation, Jack Grealish. The 29-year-old Englishman, who was signed for a whopping $100 million from Aston Villa, hasn't managed to stand out as expected. With only 2 goals and 5 assists in 26 appearances this season, his performance has been the subject of much questioning. Even Pep Guardiola has left the player on the bench in 4 of the last 6 City matches, which raises even more uncertainties about his future at the Etihad. Despite being a record signing for the club, Grealish has not been able to meet the expectations that City had for him. According to journalist Ben Jacobs, Grealish's future at Manchester City is at risk, and a transfer is a possibility. He commented on the Hibbary Squad podcast on YouTube that Arsenal could be an interesting destination for the player. Although there is no concrete link between Grealish and Arsenal yet, Jacob suggested that the transfer could happen for a sum similar to what City received for Raheem Sterling, around $45 million. Grealish's situation is quite complicated, especially with the 2026 World Cup approaching. The player knows he needs more minutes on the pitch to secure his place in the England squad. The reality is that, despite Guardiola's support, the Englishman is no longer an indisputable starter, which means he'll need to carefully consider his options. Former Chelsea captain John Terry has also entered the conversation, advising Grealish to look for a new club, saying that he plays his best football when he's regularly on the field. Terry believes that Grealish should assess his options and decide what's best for his career, as competition at City is only likely to increase in the coming months. If Manchester City really decides to sell Grealish, it will be interesting to see how much the club can negotiate for him. $45 million seems like a fair amount, but would City be making a mistake by letting the player go? And you, City fan, what do you think about this? Leave your opinion in the comments below, as we'd love to hear your take on this potential transfer. Now, shifting the focus a little to another possible departure, goalkeeper Ederson has been consistently linked with a move to another club, which could directly impact City's plans for next season. The situation is interesting because while the club is preparing to overhaul its squad, one of the most discussed departures is that of Ederson, one of the pillars of the team in recent years. According to rumors, Manchester City may be considering the possibility of selling the Brazilian goalkeeper, with Chelsea becoming a strong competitor in the race for the keeper. Roma, a club that has shown interest in Ederson, is also monitoring the goalkeeper's situation, but it's Chelsea who appears to be ahead in this process. According to Tatameka, City has been closely following the situation of Miles Filer, a 25-year-old goalkeeper from Roma, but Chelsea is now the main competitor to sign the player. Filer, known for his excellent footwork and incredible shot-stopping ability, has been highly valued in the market. This season, he conceded 30 goals in 29 matches for Roma, but still made 85 saves, which equates to a success rate of 77.2%. Chelsea seems willing to invest in Filer, valuing him at around $25 million, a very attractive price for a goalkeeper of such quality. If Chelsea manages to seal the deal, it will be a major blow to City's plans, who would need to find a new goalkeeper to replace Ederson. Losing to a Premier League rival certainly wouldn't sit well with the fans. You, Manchester City fan, do you think the club should go after a new goalkeeper if Ederson really leaves? And, if City does look for reinforcements for this position, would Filer be the best option, or is there another name you believe would be more suitable for the team? Leave your opinion in the comments, as we're curious to know what you think about this potential change in City's goalkeeping department. Finally, to wrap up this first part, it's important to remember that the transfer window is getting closer, and Manchester City has a lot to consider in order to make sure the squad is even more competitive next season. If Grealish leaves, if Ederson departs, and with the possible arrival of other names, such as Nico Schlotterbeck, City has a huge responsibility to make strategic choices that could lead the team to new titles. Continuing our analysis, Manchester City still has some challenges ahead. If the departures of Grealish and Ederson happen, the club will need to prepare for significant changes in key positions within the team. The expectation is that City will look for reinforcements that can truly elevate the quality of the squad, and one of the names being discussed is that of Nico Schlotterbeck, the defender from Borussia Dortmund. The 25-year-old center-back has been closely monitored by Pep Guardiola's team, and the search for a defensive reinforcement becomes even more urgent if City decides to sell Ruben Dias, who is no longer seen as an undisputed starter in the team. Schlotterbeck, who has stood out at Borussia Dortmund, is a name that greatly appeals to Guardiola, who is looking to strengthen the defensive sector with a high-level player. The German center-back, who is under contract with Dortmund until 2027, is valued at around $40 million, a considerable price, but one that could be justified by the potential he has shown. He is a fast defender, solid in aerial duels, and has good game reading, which fits perfectly with Manchester City's playing style. However, it's important to note that City will only move forward with negotiations for Schlotterbeck if one of the current squad members leaves, such as Ruben Dias. The club already has several options for the defense, including Manuel Akanji, John Stones, and Aymeric Laporte, and the arrival of Schlotterbeck could be Guardiola's attempt to add more depth to the squad and higher quality options for a defense that is already strong but could benefit from a solid reinforcement. The decision on who stays and who leaves is still being assessed, but City is certainly keeping an eye on the market and ready to act if necessary. In the meantime, Manchester City supporters might start to wonder, does the team really need another defender? Or should the focus be on other positions, such as midfield or attack? With the departure of players like Grealish, who has not lived up to expectations, City may find itself in a position where it needs to reinforce not only the defense but also the offensive sector, especially at a time when Erling Haaland, the standout player of the season, does not have an immediate replacement to cover potential injuries or suspensions. Indeed, the search for a new center forward was one of the biggest expectations among fans, but surprisingly, Manchester City has decided not to make this signing. Despite speculations about the need for a backup for Haaland, the club has decided that there is no need to invest in a high-profile striker at this moment. This, of course, has caused some discomfort among fans, who believe the team needs a more solid option for the position, especially after Gabriel Jesus' departure to Arsenal. City's decision not to sign a new center forward seems to be linked to a broader strategy. Pep Guardiola, known for his tactical, possession-based style of play, may believe that the focus should be on reinforcing the defense and midfield, where City also needs quality alternatives. With players like Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Rodri, City already has a high-level midfield, but if any player leaves, the club will need to make moves in the market to maintain the squad's competitiveness. Moreover, City is highly dependent on Haaland, but the idea is that other attacking players, such as Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, could take on more responsibilities. If Grealish is indeed sold, the option of reinforcing the attack with a new name could gain momentum, but this depends on the strategy adopted by Guardiola. The Catalan manager has been very cautious in his transfer market choices, and any move will be carefully calculated to ensure that the team remains competitive on all fronts. Regarding the goalkeeper, Ederson's departure would bring a major twist. If the Brazilian decides to leave the club, the search for a worthy replacement will be crucial. The name of Miles Filer from Roma has emerged as an interesting option, but Chelsea may complicate this negotiation, as the London club is also eyeing the goalkeeper. Filer has been standing out in Serie A and has shown great potential, particularly in his ability to play with his feet, a characteristic that greatly appeals to Guardiola, who values goalkeepers capable of participating in the build-up play. However, with the rivalry between the two Premier League clubs, losing Filer to Chelsea would be a big blow to City's plans, especially since the team would need to act quickly to secure a new goalkeeper. The goalkeeper market is not as wide as other positions, and quality options are limited. Moreover, losing such an important player like Ederson, who has been a key figure in Guardiola's system, would not be easy for the fans to digest. Now, moving further into the topic of Manchester City's player movements, it is crucial to highlight a point that could be decisive in the team's restructuring: the arrival of new players to strengthen the squad. We know that with the possible departures of key players like Grealish and even Ederson, City will not only need replacements of equal caliber, but also options that can bring even more quality and depth to the squad. Although they are not focused on signing a new center forward, as we mentioned earlier, it is possible that the club will look to strengthen the midfield and defense to ensure the team remains competitive both in the Premier League and in European competitions. One name that has been gaining attention is that of a new defender, Nico Schlotterbeck. The Borussia Dortmund center-back, who is seen as one of the promising talents in European football, has been closely monitored by City. His arrival would be a clear indication that Guardiola intends to reinforce the team's defense, which, while solid, could benefit from a young and talented player like Schlotterbeck. With the possible departure of Ruben Dias, who has not been a guaranteed starter for Guardiola, Schlotterbeck could become a key figure in Manchester City's defensive system. Additionally, the German defender has stood out for his game-reading ability, his speed, and, of course, his aerial prowess, something highly valued in Guardiola's playing style. The thing is, even though Schlotterbeck would be an excellent option, City already has several players in the defensive department who could also contribute significantly, such as John Stones, Aymeric Laporte, and Manuel Akanji. Therefore, the arrival of a new center-back would depend on the departure of one of these players. Furthermore, Guardiola himself has made it clear that he does not intend to make major signings without first thoroughly evaluating the situation of his squad. As he has stated in numerous interviews, City does not tend to make moves in the transfer market hastily. The club is always alert to opportunities, but it also takes great care not to inflate the market. So, if Schlotterbeck is indeed a priority, City will need to assess carefully the right moment to make a concrete proposal. His transfer will not be simple, especially because Borussia Dortmund also plans to keep their key players for the next season. But if the right price is offered, the deal could go through. Returning to the question of Grealish, his possible departure would certainly impact Manchester City's planning. The player, who arrived with high expectations, has not yet managed to establish himself as one of the team's star players, despite his undeniable quality. His movement on the pitch is always intense, but the lack of consistency has been an obstacle. However, he is still a talented player, and many believe that, in an environment where he has more game time, he could shine again. If Arsenal or another Premier League club does indeed make an offer, Manchester City will have to decide quickly whether it is worth keeping Grealish in the squad or if this transfer would be beneficial for both the player and the club. If Grealish's sale does go through, the proceeds could be used to strengthen other areas of the team, such as the attack or even the defense, as discussed earlier. Manchester City is always on the lookout for young players with potential, and a significant portion of the value from Grealish's possible transfer could be invested in future prospects that would add more value to Guardiola's team. The club has a well-defined recruitment policy, always looking to maximize squad quality without overspending, and the sale of Grealish, if it happens, could be a way to rebalance the team. Now, an interesting point to discuss is how Manchester City deals with the departures of key players and how this can influence the team's performance in competitions. The team has a tremendous ability to adapt, and Pep Guardiola, as always, will likely be a crucial factor in this process. If Grealish, for instance, leaves, Guardiola may choose to alter his playing style, seeking tactical alternatives to cope with the absence of such a dynamic player. Guardiola's philosophy has been a major differentiator for City in recent years, and even with changes in the squad, the Catalan coach has shown his ability to transform the team, keeping it competitive on all fronts. On the other hand, if Ederson also decides to leave, the impact would be significant. The Brazilian goalkeeper is not only one of the best in the world in his position, but also a fundamental piece in Guardiola's playing style, which demands a lot from his goalkeepers, especially in terms of participation in building attacks. The possible interest of clubs like Chelsea and Roma in Ederson raises further doubts about City's future. Should Ederson leave, City will need to act swiftly to secure a new goalkeeper, And as mentioned earlier, Filer appears to be a viable option, although Chelsea is also eyeing the player. The market for top-level goalkeepers is limited, and losing Ederson would mean a reconfiguration of Manchester City's playing style, which would need a goalkeeper equally skilled with his feet and strong in saves. What City fans need to understand is that, regardless of player departures or arrivals, the club remains one of the strongest teams in the Premier League and Europe. The movements in the market are part of the natural process for any top-tier team, and City, under Guardiola's leadership, is always looking for ways to improve, even when the squad is already of the highest quality. What is important for Manchester City at the moment is to maintain its competitive structure, while also preparing for the future. The combination of youth and experience in the squad has been a recipe for success over the years, and the arrival of new talents, such as Schlotterbeck, could be the perfect complement to a team already featuring players like Haaland, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Rodri. With speculation about the departure of some players and the possible arrival of others, Manchester City may be preparing for a squad revolution that, if done well, could put them in an even stronger position for the upcoming seasons. Only time will tell how all of this will unfold, but with Guardiola's management and the board's support, City's future remains promising. What do you think, Manchester City fan? Do you think the team will continue its restructuring without major losses? Or do you believe City will make more moves in the market to further strengthen the squad? Share your thoughts in the comments and keep following our channel for more updates on Manchester City. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Let's follow together what the future holds for our beloved Manchester City.